Hey.
Most of you today already. Excited to be here. Thanks for organizing this great conference, and happy to wrap up the privacy section of today. So just this week, actually, we had another data breach from Ledger happened before. If you combine that user data with some exchange data, wallet data, especially with more and more powerful AI, you get actually a very easy target list for physical exploits. So actually there's real physical threat becoming more and more prevalent. Beyond that, in the more traditional tech space, you got like more and more invasive user profiling with more subtle exploits, extracting rent based on manipulating users, showing them data based on, I guess, their profile, and just make them buy things, make them vote in certain ways. So, yeah, I think those are some points we would like to talk about today. Do we get to useful privacy before it's too late? Maybe let's start with a round of introductions. I'm Felix, partner at Greenfield Capital, a crypto fund based in Europe, and yeah, we did a number of privacy investments over the years. But Gaylord, maybe you want to continue?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, my name is Gaylord. I'm at Miden, product marketing. Miden is building a private blockchain, so this is very topical. and yeah, always very happy to talk about privacy and how we make it usable by people and not only by North Korean hackers.
I'm Zaki. I've been involved in a lot of different privacy projects: Zcash, Penumbra, Anoma, this, that, the other. One good piece of lore for me is I have on my YouTube channel videos of Aaron's first talk about zero cash outside of MIT and Technion from 2014 on my YouTube channel. So yeah, I've been doing this for a long time. When I first saw Snarks, I was like, this is witchcraft. But then I was like, how do you learn how this witchcraft works? And that took like 3 years at the time. But you know, privacy is probably like the big important thing that we have not solved yet in blockchains.
So Filip, I have several hats. So currently I'm one of the co-founders of SpaceComputer, also the CTO. So I've been working as a part of my PhD journey in the area of distributed computing for the past 5 years, focusing on aspects of applied cryptography, TEs, a lot of it, see how we can combine it and provide privacy in the context of blockchains. And in the past also I was actively working on the systems, communication systems, which is quite nice that currently at SpaceComputer I can bring together the knowledge from communication systems, privacy, and basically see what can be done with respect to the infrastructure of the future. And I'm also a part-time researcher at Flashbots working on technology, mainly TEs, and see how it can be combined together with block building moving forward.
Lukas, co-founder and CEO of TACEO. My lore doesn't go back to 2014, only to 2018 I wasn't quite involved. So I was a researcher at the university, and at that time, like Starknet was popping up, and the researchers in our group were asked about like a friendly hash function for CK, and they came up with like the Poseidon design at that point. I was not too much interested in symmetric cryptography. I thought like this is old hat. Man, I was wrong. Like this was going through the roof and like fooling like the growth of like the research group until now. Currently, like at TACEO, we're looking to build a private shared state network. So combining multi-party computation and zero knowledge proofs to actually give like privacy, more than transaction privacy, but like more on the data side.
Cool, thanks a lot. So I guess we have seen actually already a bunch of different privacy solutions around the block. They haven't been used to that great extent as we could have imagined, I guess. Also in the previous presentations we said like, yeah, people in surveys actually say they don't value privacy that highly. Yeah, how are you tackling that with your projects and personally? How can we actually make privacy useful and adopted?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the question that everybody is asking themselves. There are different ways to answer that, but I feel like maybe the most interesting one is Yeah, to note the difference between what we think people want about privacy and what they actually do. So actually, one part of my job is was to interview like OTC traders and crypto companies to check, even if in our industry, actually people do they want privacy? Do they use that? Do they use crypto? And in some cases, some companies, they don't care that the salaries are public if they pay their contractors in crypto. In some other, they do. Funnily enough, one thing that comes back often is the bonus season. So when they pay bonuses, that's when they have problems because, Maria is going to complain that she got less than Alice, and that creates issues. So stuff like that can create issues, but they are very much based on human behavior. So that's interesting to see because in some other cases, we would assume they want it, like OTC traders. I was thinking they would love privacy. Actually, in most cases, they don't care so much. The only ones who do are like people are a bit agey and you're immediately in a gray zone legally, and that's typically what we don't really want to tackle. So I feel like the first way to know what people want is to actually ask them. So that's kind of my answer. And the second part is more related to the UX. And that's something we saw a lot with the Zcash surge, which I believe was very much coming from the UX being better thanks to the Zashi wallets, to near intents. But maybe, Zaki, that's something you can tell more about.
Sure. Okay, what was the question?
I mean, we've seen actually a rise in the shielded pool and Zcash, and
okay, I kind of got lost. I was just thinking about Gaylord's question, answer, and I kind of went. I got into the weave like Trump.
I'm used to moderating.
There are various use cases, obviously, different kinds of things you might want to have. So maybe pick one.
So
what you care about mostly, and how to make it really useful and have more people adopt it.
So we've seen this like surge of adoption around Zashi, and I'm sure people are probably BUIDL. So we've seen this surge of adoption around Zashi. We've seen this surge of adoption around near intents plus Zcash. We have seen most other privacy solutions sort of fail to like really get traction, and that's been like a common pattern. And I think that like one of the things that has been the like hardest thing is to actually figure out how to. We have this idea that people don't want privacy. What I think is a more accurate answer is people don't have a mental model of privacy. Yeah. So one of the biggest things that I think I've learned, I was also a contributor to Signal for a long time. And like one of the big lessons from Signal is that users don't know what private means. Privacy doesn't make, like, users don't like know, and like, frankly, it's a hard thing to have a mental model of what privacy is. So there's two things. One is users, like the understanding that users have to sort of absorb sort of mimetically about what privacy is has to come from a rigorous technical understanding of these are the privacy properties that you get. It's more of a vibe. Like that's like the real answer to this question is like privacy is like more of a vibe, and encapsulating privacy in a consumer product that gives you that vibe is hard. And Signal is a great example of getting it right. Zashi is a great example of getting it right. And then the user flow has to be approachable. So it has to like sort of meet users where they are, let people interact with chains that we are, and like basically without near intents, this like latest privacy renaissance would never have happened. So because near intents really allowed meeting users with the wallets that they had where they were with a vibe that made sense to them.
I mean, fully agree. I think it's the aspect that Zaki is mentioning. I think it's to try to make it seamless, usable, and basically then people care. I think that's also great, like from the panel we have heard yesterday. It's like if I have to choose slightly worse product or better product, right, like that is more usable, people unfortunately choose convenience, right, in many aspects. There's the reason why I guess the space is heavily relying, for example, on Telegram as the main application to go. Is it the best for privacy? Many times not, but it's very usable. And this is actually something that we also try to take as a lesson for us to try to find a good compromise of seamlessness while providing privacy. And in that sense, like TEs have a lot of issues, but at least on the aspects of usability, they are quite neat. The performance is good, and people can actually try to see how they can actually integrate it without too many of the issues. And I think the other point I think which is very important to mention is like what for is the privacy. Like, is it okay? I want to protect my monthly paycheck that I'm getting because everything is on-chain, or is it like for general purpose solutions? And I think in that sense, ideally having privacy is something like a HTTPS that is always present it's I think something we should be striving for and see how it can be done in a usable fashion in scale as well. So as a part of that, we try to see how we can integrate and find good compromises of usability and providing good user experience as well moving forward.
So we should have privacy implemented as part of like general purpose chains and have everything being privacy preserving, ideally, obviously. But like otherwise, before that, maybe you have intermediate hops or like you obfuscate what you're doing with self addresses. So you have like a transaction into a shielded pool, and out of that, and then you go into a general purpose chain again, like to break the linkage maybe with public addresses, ENS names, and so on.
Privacy at rest is the holy grail, right? Like that is the best. Like transactional privacy is nice. It like gives you some interesting properties. But if we really want like AI-resistant privacy, the only way to ever get there is privacy at rest. Like you store your funds on chain privately, obviously, and like that has been like the hardest thing to get people to do. But like if we really want to deliver private money at scale, that's the thing we need.
Yeah, but like one thing I think people, like if you zoom out from blockchains, it's like an incentive problem. Like the business model in Web 2 doesn't work for privacy. Like it's just like, why should there be a private version of the WOOP? Like, yeah, I see you wearing the WOOP as well. Like I want a private version of this, but nobody will build this in Web 2. Like it doesn't make sense. Like they will like train everything and do whatever I don't know what they are up to, but like they will make a lot of money because they have a lot of data from me. And so far, like all the Web 2 models do not like allow us real privacy because they would be cut. You need a different business model for that. And I think like that's why blockchains will be on the forefront of privacy, actual privacy, what you said, like privacy at rest. It's the only chance that we have to get this. But it's like technically much more complex than strapping some Web 2 privacy to a centralized server.
Yeah, and how urgent is it actually? Like, when is it too late? How quickly do we need to move to, ideally, privacy at rest or intermediate steps before like putting loads of users at risk? And is that more relevant for individuals or businesses, or maybe just both?
I think it's close to too late. Like we have, like as you said, like you pointed out AI. Like it's like okay, you use this buzzword to raise funds, and no, like. Actually, if we cannot make the technologies and like the privacy properties work at like a scale of AI, it will be not really relevant. Maybe we have like for some transactions privacy, but like if all our context is loaded up to an AI in the cloud, what does it like? It can infer what I traded and what I bought because like it told me what I have to buy without me even knowing. So, and we are far away of making like end-to-end privacy for AI, like really, really far. Like if you see the resources put into AI and so on, and versus like in crypto or in crypto and privacy, it's like we don't have any chance so far.
I like the 1,000 days as like that's roughly how much time we have left. As a good number, good approximate mental model of how long it is before it's too late.
I mean, there's also a difference between the privacy you have on a blockchain, which is like everything is fully transparent. Then you have the silos. I mean, as you said, like privacy is a vibe. That's what you say. And well, there are different vibes. There are different privacy. So when we talk about AI, of course, these silos are as dangerous as being in public. But still, the fact that it's even easier to fetch all your transactional data on chain makes blockchain particularly bad for the privacy. So yeah, again, I mean, ideally you have the full privacy, like, system like Zcash. I mean, I guess there are like intermediary steps in between to progressively get to a solution that leads you to maybe full privacy, but then you have the compliance aspect. So there are many like dimensions in how you make privacy usable, and again, not having it used only by terrorists, but also by normal people.
I think one of the points that is important for people to understand about like why is AI such an important thing is we've been leaking private data in ever exponentially increasing amounts through our, through two various companies who then get exploited, and then the data like moves around. But orchestrating that data was really hard. Like anyone who's like tried to do any sort of blockchain forensics is like, yes, you can do it, but it's like really painful. And then like you can layer tools like Arkham and stuff like that and make more sense of it. But like trying to take a bunch of like heterogeneous data sets, link them together, get a composite of like what can you get on a single person, that was a lot of work. That was like a lot of specialized work. I mean, this is like what Palantir built their business model around, right? But like we're sort of approaching the, like, is this like one prompt into Claude Code? Kind of to like be like, oh, like pick a person, take a picture of them and be like, what can you put together around that one person? It becomes very easy. And like that is the terrifying future that is like 1,000 days away.
Yeah, maybe to shift gears a little bit, some of you mentioned compliance already in previous talks and then just now a little bit as well. Maybe focusing on transaction privacy first, since I guess there's obviously privacy protection laws like GDPR and so on that are in favor of privacy, then like some obviously financial laws and sanctions that have become quite challenging, to say the least, for the crypto ecosystem. What's your stance regarding combining both privacy and compliance for developers and users to stay safe physically but also legally?
Yeah, so I mean, as a lot of people said, privacy is kind of the last milestone for blockchain adoption, and this is probably the biggest challenge into making that happen. You have the technical aspects, how you make things private, but then how you make it acceptable by the world. That's, I think, one of the biggest challenges. And one of the reasons is, well, the regulations are different depending on where you are. So that's why, in my opinion, you need programmable privacy, and you give the possibility to the application developer to basically adjust depending on the rules they're at, but also maybe how the rules will evolve. And also taking it from a previous presentation, the ethos of the crypto industry doesn't really align so well with regulators, but still we live in the same world. So I guess all of this is a way to kind of meet in the middle and maybe try to do some lobbying to make the rules evolve, and also teaching the regulators about what's now feasible technically. I'm not sure a lot of them know about ZK or even TEs, but that's the process. For me, the process consists in kind of progressively getting to that way in the hope that we will meet somewhere in the middle. But yeah, to achieve that, I think programmable privacy is the way to go, is what you need.
So I guess I have a couple of views on this. One is, so it's been about a decade of private blockchains. And at least I know what's going on in the US much better than I know anywhere else in the world. The US government is anywhere close to any sort of coherent government-wide view of what is going on and like what is permissible, what is not permissible, what are they for, what are they against, vis-a-vis privacy. Like they have no idea. Just incoherent, like all views are incoherent and they don't make sense to each other. So two things would be forcing functions, I think, for changing that. One is if private blockchains and like private transactions on blockchains and like sort of cypherpunk grade privacy suddenly becomes very popular. I think that will force the government to come to some sort of more of a coherent theory of what is permitted, what is not. The other thing is going to be stablecoin adoption, and like sort of Web 2 stablecoin adoption creates like a very tangible business need for privacy that is going to result in solutions for all of your startups, and like is a big market for a lot of the privacy tech startups right now. And then that's going to have to get wrapped into some sort of, okay, this is what's acceptable, permissible world. That's sort of the world I experience.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think the aspect is like really missing is clarity, because like it's in different jurisdiction, very different stuff, and it's very hard, I think, to work towards moving target. So in some way you have to just like take the bet and see what happens if your solution is fine, and later on try to fix it. And we especially also like see it with respect to, for example, space regulation. There's like a lot of stuff to be just about to discuss or even explore because no one was really considering it. So I think finding a good compromise and clarity along the way, I think it's something that we have to maybe go and try to educate the regulators along the way, because the technology is becoming more ready, and just like it's a matter of finding the compromise of what is the stuff they want to see, for what purposes. Is it like a matter of when the users are entering the system with some form of KYC, but everything afterwards is fine, or basically where are the compromises to be made along the way? And currently it's unclear on many fronts. So hopefully clarity, I think, would be interesting, and education along the way of what the technology can do, cannot do, and if we put backdoors, maybe we find out actually that the technology is completely pointless, which unfortunately sometimes the regulator try to push with respect to some of the recent discussions, especially in the EU, regarding privacy messaging. Basically, it's not the right solution to do because it just completely breaks the whole system and can make it exploitable by others as well. So hopefully there can be a better compromise on this technology.
Yeah, maybe adding a bit like the European perspective. You mentioned like that on the one side, like we have like strong data protection laws in Europe, like the GDPR, which if you like look at it and like the values and the principles, like programmable cryptography, all that stuff, like it would be like ace everything there, be better than anything else. But blockchain has like such a bad image that even like if it comes from like the blockchain side, it's like, okay, no, we don't want this. This is like not the privacy we want this paper privacy. So one thing would be to convince like the policymakers in Europe that, okay, like the technology that you have here is like really what you wanted when you set up the GDPR. Unfortunately, even if we made like this clear and win this, if you look at the power of enforcement from financial, like law enforcement versus like GDPR, it's like negligible. They don't have any officers on the ground. They cannot enforce anything. So it will be mainly talking in the EU, at least, to like the financial regulators. The privacy ones could cheer from the side, and we should at least have them because now nobody's cheering so far, and like a few ones would be nice.
Yeah, yeah. I guess like if at least if you can prove, in case you're being asked, that you're not touching any illicit funds, I guess you have risk-based modeling and so on and so forth. Maybe then you're fine, I guess. Yeah, but I guess you need to cater to individual jurisdictions and see how the space evolves. Are there, or what are actually the use cases beyond financial transaction privacy that you're most excited about, since you're kind of a bunch of you working on?
Yeah, I mean, I know that on the other side in the blockchain world, financial applications are kind of the obvious fit.
Yeah.
But then I think that's probably Vitalik's favorite topic, but everything that's around DAOs and voting is also a very good use case. I mean, especially voting in countries where the government is not trusted by the population actually voting is, in my opinion, a very good use case, a very hard business model though, but still also an obvious use case. Again, how you convince, how you make a company out of that is another question. But yeah, voting would be my go-to answer for that question.
Well, we're definitely, I mean, it's become like this whole, like, you need, age verification, et cetera, to use various social media and other websites is kind of like, we've crossed like a pretty significant Rubicon. And like the ability, if we can leverage privacy tech to, and like, we really need to be moving this other direction where it's like, okay, reveal as little, only the information that you need to your counterparty in order to execute what you were trying to do. You only need to be able to, if you could only need to prove your age to a website, to use social media, that is a far better place than, uploading your entire, IDs to Discord. This seems like it has been a disaster. It will only get worse. So on top of like the sort of, you have the store of value use case, you have the privacy at rest use case, you have the private trading use case, and then you have like private identity. I think those are probably the low-hanging fruit right now.
Yeah, private decentralized identity. I think that's like the one I'm most excited about. It also like is like a lot of things are downstream of it, like also financial transactions, agents, and so on. Like you can see that like decentralized identity and credentials like are really playing a big part there, and we can build this like from scratch.
Yeah, I mean, something maybe slightly different angle is like fully agree with all of these use cases. Something that is also quite interesting is the aspect what you're mentioning regarding incentives, and I think there can be also used the privacy for incentivizing actually people to either participate or operate some of this infrastructure with respect to that in a privacy preserving fashion. So for example, hot topic that at least during my initial research, like even looking into, it's like privacy is of course like a layered approach, right? Like we can do a lot of privacy on chain, but still, for example, the networking informations are being leaked. So there start to be more and more incentives to look into something like mixed net solutions that are really trying to scramble the network on the actual communication layer. And that, for example, a solution like a NIM is quite attractive, but of course, you have to also find a way on how to provide incentives to the operators of such technology. And I think in that sense, it can again be combined with privacy, see how these operators can actually be incentivized to get some token in a privacy-preserving fashion to provide this infrastructure for others that they can actually be used in scale as well. So I think it's like maybe parallel to all of these activities, see how this can be layered together and provide interesting use cases on top of it as well.
Actually, one thing I forgot and just remember as you were explaining is we didn't even talk about AI. So that's actually where maybe privacy tech also could be leveraged. I mean, even around me, like a lot more people now are using AI, and progressively people start to realize that they are sending all the information to the AI, the age of their kid, their medical record somehow sometimes. And I start seeing like the need for a private AI. So I don't exactly know where blockchain directly is involved, but privacy tech definitely is. And yeah, that's also a direction that's not directly finance related. That also I think is something that could grow a lot in the coming years, together with the also AI growing altogether. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. There's, I guess, right now, like regarding privacy preserving AI, the most performant ones, or probably the only really feasible ones, are based on trusted execution environments, because they actually provide rather low overheads, and the newest NVIDIA GPUs.
That's the only one they
actually
works, basically.
Yeah, actually, yeah, also enable parallelized use.
Yeah.
But there have been side channel attacks on trusted execution environments, like I think.
But in space, though, because
No, maybe not in space, exactly. So that's a question. Like, how important is it actually where the computation is happening? Like, in space, maybe you have like client-side proving. It depends on the use case, I guess. But like, I guess what are the settings, and how important is that actually? I mean, you have decentralized networks, MPC.
Yeah, I mean, the client-side prove it could work. It's a performance problem at this point.
Yeah.
I don't think there is any like open source model you can run on a server in your home. I mean, even with like, I don't know, 10K of GPUs, maybe you can run an old like DeepSeek model. I don't even know.
Well, you can run a local AI model and on your local data.
Yeah, but I mean, not everybody will do that.
Yeah.
I even feel tired just thinking about it right now, so I wouldn't do it. But that's a solution maybe someone can work on. But eventually, yeah, TEs might be another way to go, but I don't know much about TEs.
Yeah, I think definitely these can provide a good compromise. Are they perfect? Definitely not, but I think it's maybe a good starting point, and it's also an interesting line of research with combining solutions like TEs with MPC protocols, for example, running on top of it, where you can try to relax some of the assumptions to get best of the both worlds, basically, with respect to performance, while maybe more sophisticated and superior privacy if you consider solution where you want to also mitigate a single point of failure, basically, with respect to that. So I think this type of like a layered approach is definitely very attractive. And what will be also interesting, as you were mentioning, is the part of identifying what can happen, for example, on our phones, because most of the recent phones already have quite a reasonable TEs on them with respect to secure elements. Maybe trying to accelerate the part by what can happen on your phone, and basically later on maybe try to scale it if it's something like a really high cost model that's providing a really cool feature to the server, but basically see what can be done more on the client side more and more, because the capabilities I think should there, and the compute is becoming more affordable in many dimensions. And it could be quite exciting, basically, to try to see if we can go back to the client side as much as possible.
I am aware of some promising stuff that's happening on the hardware accelerated, fully homomorphic encryption for AI inference side. So there is exciting stuff happening there. And if that materializes, I think that can be a big unlock.
Okay, and will we get to ubiquitous privacy on the financial transaction side, and maybe even on the AI side within 1,000 days?
I'm trying, man. I'm trying.
It'll be already great if you make, as you mentioned, the mindset, like make more people care, right? In the sense, like if I have to choose between usability and privacy, just try to find the interesting motivation for people. This will be maybe something easier than having everything as seamless as we would like it to be.
I think we'll get like a lot of different models for transaction privacy by the end of 2026. Like a lot of companies trying different stuff out, and also like the pressure from stable coins. Like having really like this pressure from their customers, like that they like implement some sort of privacy, and there will be paper privacy, there will be fully homomorphic encryption, and everything between, and will be interesting to see in 2026 where we land.
What a time to be alive.
Wow, yeah. 2026 will be a big year for privacy. Excited to see what we ship and what we adopt. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.